Welcome back to the quarterly call. All content is for informational purposes and is not investment advice. Please consult with an investment professional. Today, we're going to be dissecting the Q2 2025 earnings call from Intuitive Surgical. If you're looking for a thorough yet concise understanding of one of the true pioneers in robotic-assisted surgery and acute interventions, well, you are definitely in the right place. Our goal here is to really pull out the most compelling insights from the recent update, give you a crystal clear picture of, you know, where they stand and maybe where they're heading.
Absolutely. And we're trying to go beyond just the headlines here. We'll be navigating through some pretty significant leadership transitions,
Mm.
delving into the latest product innovations, analyzing their market performance across different robotic systems,
Mm-hmm.
meticulously reviewing their financial health, and then finally sort of peering into their strategic future.
Mm-hmm.
The aim really is to understand not just the reported numbers, which are important, of course, but the profound underlying trends and strategic decisions that are actively shaping the future of this, well, pivotal healthcare technology. You'll hopefully gain a holistic perspective on Intuitive Surgical's journey and its potential impact on healthcare delivery, globally.
Right. And every pioneering company, it seems, reaches a moment where leadership transitions, maybe from building the foundation to really scaling the future. For Intuitive Surgical, Q2 marked just such a pivotal moment. It looked like a carefully orchestrated shift at the very top. The long-standing CEO, Gary Guthart, moved to executive chair, and that paved the way for David Rosa to step into the CEO role. Now, this isn't just a personnel change, is it? It feels like more of a strategic evolution for a company that's already transformed surgery. What's the significance of David Rosa taking the helm?
Yeah, it's actually a remarkable story of continuity and deep institutional knowledge. David Rose's connection to Intuitive Surgical, it runs incredibly deep. He joined the company way back in 1996. That's almost 3 decades ago. Makes him one of the very first employees.
Wow, 96?
Yeah. And he wasn't just there. He was apparently instrumental in developing the very first Da Vinci prototype. So, yeah, this isn't some external hire bringing in a totally new philosophy. It's someone who has lived and breathed the company's evolution from, well, a tiny startup to the global powerhouse it is today. His appointment really signals a commitment to that foundational vision that made Intuitive Surgical what it is, while also, I think, signaling a renewed focus on expanding that vision even further.
That continuity definitely makes sense. And, speaking of Gary Guthart's tenure, it's worth just pausing on the incredible scale Intuitive Surgical achieved under his leadership. From those very early days, the company has just blossomed into this global enterprise. Over 16,000 employees now.
It's massive.
They support more than 11,000 robotic systems spread across 74 countries. And the sheer volume of impact is staggering. They've facilitated over 17 million procedures to date. It's just an almost unimaginable leap from, a small California firm.
It absolutely is. And what's fascinating here is that this leadership transition, while, yes, rooted in continuity, also seems to bring a sharpened strategic lens. David Rosa, as the new CEO, is championing the quintuple aim as the guiding principle for the company's future. And this isn't just like a marketing slogan. It sounds like a pretty profound strategic framework that's going to influence, well, probably every aspect of their operations.
Okay, the quintuple aim. It sounds like a powerful guiding star, definitely. But beyond the sort of broad strokes, how specifically might this new strategic lens challenge or maybe even reshape some of Intuitive Surgical's longstanding operational practices or, market entry strategies? What does it really mean day to day to integrate these five aims into their decisions?
That's a really critical question, actually, because it moves us beyond just theory into, practical application. So traditionally, healthcare focused on the triple aim:
Yeah.
improving patient experience, improving population health, and reducing per capita cost. Probably remember that.
Right, yeah.
That then evolved to the quadruple aim by adding that crucial fourth element: improving the experience of care providers, addressing things like burnout.
Which is huge.
Huge, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, the quintuple aim, as Intuitive Surgical defines it, takes it a significant step further by explicitly adding increased access to care. So you've got patient safety, patient experience, care team experience, lower cost of care, and critically expanded access. Now, how does this reshape operations? Well, think about it. Patient safety and experience. This obviously drives their relentless focus on precision, advanced instruments, user-friendly interfaces, all ensuring minimal invasiveness and optimal outcomes.
Yeah.
Care team experience. This directly influences the design of their consoles, the ease of setup, the intuitive nature of their software, basically reducing friction for surgeons and their teams.
Okay.
Lower cost of care. Now, this isn't just about the upfront cost of the system. It means developing instruments that are more durable, maybe exploring new service models,
Hmm.
and significantly demonstrating through hard data how robotic surgery can reduce total costs, maybe by shortening hospital stays or cutting readmissions.
Right, the whole picture.
Exactly. And then increased access to care. This was particularly impactful, I think. It might mean developing more modular or portable systems, perhaps, exploring new business models for smaller hospitals or outpatient centers, or even investing in infrastructure for things like remote training and proctoring. It means looking beyond just the largest academic centers to bring robotic surgery to a broader population, which can unlock entirely new markets for them. So essentially, every R&D dollar, every manufacturing optimization, every sales strategy is now kind of filtered through how it contributes to these 5 interconnected goals. It really demands a holistic approach to innovation.
That level of intentionality really clarifies their strategic compass. So, okay, when we look at Q2 specifically, how did this strategic focus translate into their overall financial and operational performance? Were they able to navigate those ongoing macro challenges we keep hearing about while still delivering on those quintuple aims?
Well, they certainly demonstrated strong performance, which I think is testament to that strategic grounding. Despite those ongoing macro challenges, particularly in certain international markets, which we'll get into shortly, Intuitive Surgical reported solid procedure growth and robust capital placements. They achieved a significant 21% year-over-year revenue growth, reaching $2.44 billion for the quarter. That's truly impressive given the global economic headwinds.
21%.
And on the expense side, their product margins and operating expenses were actually slightly more favorable than they perhaps anticipated. So this positive financial picture, strong revenue growth, disciplined spending, it provides a really compelling backdrop for understanding the drivers of that performance, particularly the new products.
That overview definitely sets a strong foundation. But of course, the real engine of Incurative Surgical's future, it often lies in its innovation pipeline, doesn't it? And speaking of groundbreaking innovation, one product in particular has really taken center stage this quarter.
Absolutely. You're undoubtedly referring to the da Vinci 5. It's been more than just a product launch. It seems to have become a significant driver, showing remarkable early adoption. Intuitive Surgical initiated a broad launch of the da Vinci 5 in the United States. And what's truly astonishing is that over 100,000 procedures have already been performed with this system.
100,000 already.
Yes, during its initial measured launch phase. That's a really rapid adoption curve for a new, complex piece of medical technology. It strongly indicates physician and hospital interest.
And it sounds like that momentum is now expanding globally, too. The da Vinci 5 recently got clearances in Europe and Japan, but the company noted that launches in these regions will be measured. What exactly does a measured launch entail for a global rollout of this magnitude? What does that mean on the ground?
Yeah, measured launch in these high-stakes, highly regulated environments is a very deliberate strategy. While they have the initial regulatory clearances for the main system, Intuitive Surgical needs to work through additional, often more specific clearances to fully enable the entire da Vinci 5 ecosystem in these regions.
Ah, okay, so not just the robot itself.
Exactly. It's not just about getting the core robot cleared. It's about ensuring every specific instrument, every critical accessory, and all the integrated digital tools that really unlock the da Vinci 5's full power are also approved and available. Think of it like a puzzle, maybe. You have the mainframe, but you need all the individual pieces to truly see the full picture and get the full benefit. So this methodical approach ensures that surgeons and care teams have everything they need to maximize the system's capabilities right from day one. It also allows the company to properly roll out comprehensive training and support, ensuring optimal safety and efficacy. This measured pace, while maybe it seems slow to an outsider, is actually crucial for long-term success and building trust in new markets. It ensures a robust, well-supported launch that benefits both patients and providers.
That certainly makes sense for complex medical tech. Okay, beyond the core platform, what about specific new instrument innovations? I know these are often key to expanding the system's utility. Anything stand out there?
Indeed. A key innovation highlighted in the instrument portfolio is the 510K clearance for the vessel sealer curved.
Yeah.
Just for context for everyone listening, a 510K clearance is the FDA's pathway for medical devices that are substantially equivalent to a device already on the market. It's generally a faster route than a full pre-market approval, indicating that while it's a new and improved tool, it builds on established technology. It lets them bring these critical tools to surgeons more rapidly.
Got it.
And this new vessel sealer, it isn't just an incremental tweak. It sounds like it offers significant value. It boasts a slimmer profile, which is critical for navigating those tight anatomical spaces inside the body. And it can precisely seal vessels up to 7 millimeters in diameter. That's an important capability for a wide variety of surgical procedures.
Yeah.
Crucially, its refined design also allows for improved tissue manipulation, giving surgeons greater precision and control in really delicate areas.
And which specific procedures would benefit most from this new vessel sealer curved? Is it about opening up entirely new types of surgeries or more about enhancing existing ones, making them even more precise?
It's primarily about enhancing existing surgical capabilities rather than opening up entirely new procedure types. The slimmer profile and improved manipulation are particularly beneficial in procedures that require working within narrow or challenging anatomical spaces. Think about thoracic surgeries, for instance, dealing with structures in the chest,
Right.
or certain colorectal procedures deep within the pelvis, or maybe hiatal hernia repairs near the diaphragm. These are areas where, every millimeter really matters.
Hmm.
This new instrument allows surgeons to operate with greater dexterity and precision in these challenging environments, ultimately supporting safer and more effective outcomes for patients. It's really about deepening their penetration and success in those procedures that require very narrow space for energy application, driving greater confidence and efficiency for the surgeon.
It's clear that the hardware and instruments are constantly evolving, but what about the digital ecosystem that supports these systems? Intuitive has been a leader in that space for a long time. How is that evolving?
Absolutely. Their digital collaboration tools, they have a long and impressive history, actually. It really began with the introduction of the dual console capability on the Da Vinci C system way back in 2009.
Oh, that long ago.
Yeah, that was a foundational step, allowing two surgeons to operate simultaneously or for a proctor to guide a trainee in real time. Today, that concept has evolved significantly with Intuitive Telepresence. Its latest hub software allows for things like on-demand scheduling and easy, secure connections with peers, almost like having a favorite list on your phone to quickly connect with a known group or individual. This isn't just video conferencing. It's really about enabling seamless remote collaboration and real-time interaction between surgeons, regardless of their physical location.
And speaking of remote collaboration, I heard about a truly compelling demonstration of telesurgery recently. Can you tell us about that? What did it showcase?
Yes, that was quite remarkable and certainly forward-looking. It was a demonstration at the Society of Robotic Surgery conference. Dr. Doug Stoddard and Dr. Andrea Pukula performed a telesurgery between Atlanta and Strasbourg. Now, to be clear, this wasn't on a human patient, but on an advanced tissue model using the Da Vinci 5.
Okay, important distinction.
Very important. But what made it particularly groundbreaking was the inclusion of the force feedback technology. This showcase vividly demonstrated the potential for surgeons to collaborate or even operate from vast distances, which, has profound implications for training, proctoring, and maybe way down the line, potentially expanding access to specialized care to remote or underserved areas.
That sounds genuinely revolutionary on a technological level. But thinking practically, what are the most significant hurdles, practical, regulatory, that need to be cleared before telesurgery moves from a cool demo to widespread clinical reality? And how is Intuitive Surgical actively engaging with those challenges? Are they?
You've hit on a really critical point there. While the long-term potential for telesurgery is, frankly, immense, Intuitive Surgical seems very clear-eyed about the significant challenges that need to be systematically addressed before widespread clinical adoption. And these are not minor issues. They include things like, 1, robust cybersecurity and privacy infrastructure, protecting patient data and ensuring the integrity of surgical control systems over vast networks is just paramount. The slightest breach could be catastrophic.
Absolutely.
2, new hospital workflows. Existing OR protocols are designed for in-person teams. Telesurgery demands entirely new workflows, roles, responsibilities for local support staff. 3, revised medical and legal policies. Think about licensure across state or international borders, liability, even the definition of a surgical team. All need to be reevaluated and codified. Who's legally responsible if something goes wrong during a procedure performed thousands of miles away?
Huge questions.
Huge. And finally, number 4, appropriate business economics. Making telesurgery viable and affordable for healthcare systems involves more than just the tech. It needs a sustainable economic model for its implementation and use. The company really emphasizes that their focus is on delivering safe, meaningful, and grounded solutions that truly address real-world healthcare challenges, rather than just, chasing futuristic concepts. They understand the stakes are incredibly high, and they seem committed to working with regulators, hospitals, legal experts to build the necessary frameworks before trying to commercialize such capabilities. It's a really complex, multifaceted puzzle.
That makes perfect sense. The human and regulatory elements are just as crucial as the technological ones. Okay, beyond telesurgery, you mentioned force feedback on the Da Vinci 5. What kind of clinical evidence is emerging for this technology? And also for Case Insights, their data analytics tool.
Yeah, this is where the data becomes really compelling, I think, and where the Da Vinci 5 really starts to differentiate itself. There's significant emerging clinical evidence, particularly around its force feedback technology and that data analytics tool, Case Insights. At a recent Society of Robotic Surgery annual meeting, Dr. Leila Rashidi from Multicare Health System presented a groundbreaking study. This study utilized what they call objective performance indicators, or OPIs, derived directly from Case Insights. These OPIs combine really granular surgical video data with precise force measurements and other data points captured directly from the Da Vinci platform during surgery.
Okay, objective performance indicators. And what did Dr. Rashidi's study actually reveal about these OPIs, particularly regarding the forces surgeons apply during an operation?
Well, the study analyzed 28 low anterior resection cases. That's a type of colorectal surgery, and found some striking correlations between certain patient factors and these OPIs, especially the force measured during surgery. Specifically, Dr. Rashidi's team discovered that higher forces applied by the surgeon during the dissection phase, and also in cases where patients had undergone prior surgery in the same area, were associated with an increased length of hospital stay.
Interesting.
But the most powerful and precise predictor they identified was the percent of force time above 6.5 newtons. Now, to put that into perspective for you listening, 6.5 newtons is roughly the force you'd use to press down on a standard computer mouse button. It's not a huge amount of force.
Right, very subtle.
Very subtle. The study suggests that even these seemingly subtle differences in sustained force during surgery can have measurable impacts on patient outcomes. It basically makes the invisible forces of surgery truly visible and, importantly, actionable.
So, what are the broader implications of these findings, then, for surgeons and for patients? How do force feedback and Case Insights help optimize techniques and maybe improve outcomes?
Well, the implications are potentially profound. These advancements provide surgeons with objective, real-time data that they've just never had before. It means they can, one, identify predictive factors. They can now identify factors that predict complications, allowing them to potentially modify their approach or optimize techniques for specific patients before or even during a procedure.
Proactive.
Exactly. Two, refine technique. Imagine a surgeon reviewing their own OPIs after a case, seeing exactly where higher forces were applied, and then consciously adjusting their technique for future cases. It's a powerful feedback loop for continuous improvement. And three, enhanced training. For residents and new surgeons, this data could be invaluable. It offers objective benchmarks for teaching gentle tissue handling, which is a fundamental principle in minimally invasive surgery. Ultimately, this all supports the goal of safer, gentler, and more precise surgery. Now, while these results are early and clinical evidence will continue to build over the coming quarters and years, they are highly consistent with the core hypotheses of the value that force feedback and Case Insights are expected to bring. It's a significant step towards truly data-driven surgery, moving from subjective assessment towards objective, measurable performance.
That's truly cutting edge, isn't it? Transforming surgical skill from maybe more of an art into a more precise science. Now, while the Da Vinci 5 is clearly making waves, Intuitive Surgical has a broader portfolio of robotic systems that are also critical to their strategy. Let's shift focus a bit to the SP system and the Ion system. How are they performing, and what are their unique contributions?
Right, good point. The SP system, which is designed for single-port access surgery, is showing really impressive momentum. It achieved an 88% year-over-year procedure growth. That's a remarkable acceleration.
88%.
88%. This growth is particularly notable in Korea, where adoption has apparently surged, and they're also making good progress in its early European launch. The SP system, just as a reminder, allows surgeons to operate through a single small incision, which can be beneficial for certain procedures by potentially reducing patient scarring and maybe enhancing recovery.
And what about specific milestones for the SP system? Any new clearances or expanded utility that are significant?
Yes, several key milestones were achieved for the SP system, enhancing its versatility and reach. They received clearance for a 50-use endoscope, which significantly extends the lifespan and, importantly, the cost-effectiveness of this crucial component for hospitals.
Okay, that's practical.
Very practical. And even more importantly, perhaps, they received 510K clearance for transanal local excision and resection. This significantly expands its utility in colorectal procedures, adding to a suite of transabdominal colorectal options they already have. This new clearance means the SP system can now address a broader range of cases, particularly those in very confined spaces, making it a more comprehensive tool for colorectal surgeons.
Given those advancements, what are Intuitive Surgical's strategic priorities for the SP system moving forward? Where do they see its greatest potential?
Their priorities for SP in the near term seem clear and multifaceted. First, they aim to secure additional indications in the U.S., continuously expanding the types of procedures it can be used for. Second, they're focused on aggressive expansion into more international markets, bringing its benefits to a wider global patient population. Third, they're committed to continuously enhancing its core capabilities through ongoing R&D. And finally, a key priority is improving product costs, making it even more accessible and efficient for healthcare systems. They're also in the early phase of a measured rollout of their SP stapler, which they believe is a crucial enabling technology for broader SP adoption, especially in complex colorectal and thoracic procedures. So it shows a kind of holistic strategy to integrate SP into existing workflows.
Okay, and let's move to the Ion system. That's the one designed for minimally invasive biopsy in the lung, right? Given the increasing focus on early cancer detection, how's its performance shaping up? What's driving its growth?
Right, the Ion system. It's also demonstrating substantial and frankly compelling growth. Procedures grew a significant 52% in the quarter. That amounts to approximately 35,000 procedures performed.
52%, also very strong.
Very strong. This rapid adoption really speaks to its clinical value in navigating deep into the lung. The installed base is now expanded to 905 systems globally. And crucially, system utilization is consistently growing, which tells us hospitals aren't just acquiring them, they're integrating them deeply into their diagnostic pathways. That high utilization is a strong indicator of clinical utility and surgeon satisfaction.
Right, they're actually using them.
Exactly. They've also achieved significant international milestones, with the first commercial procedures and sales in new markets like Australia and Korea. This international expansion is pivotal. If you think about the healthcare systems in those countries, how do they prioritize early cancer detection? What specific advantages does Ion offer over traditional biopsy methods there? It suggests Ion is addressing a critical need for precise, minimally invasive lung biopsy across really diverse healthcare landscapes.
So, similar question as for the SP system, what are the strategic priorities for Ion as it continues to expand its reach and impact?
For the Ion system, the priorities mirror SP in some ways but are tailored. They include supporting continued utilization growth in the U.S. That means ensuring optimal training, support, integration into hospital workflows. Another key focus is continued international expansion, leveraging those initial successes in markets like Australia and Korea. They're also dedicated to enhancing the overall procedure workflow, making it even more efficient and intuitive for clinicians using it. And, like the SP, a significant strategic priority is improving product costs, which aligns perfectly with that lower cost of care pillar of the quintuple aim.
Right.
And these development efforts across all platforms, da Vinci 5, SP, and Ion, they seem deeply interconnected. Intuitive Surgical continually emphasizes that continuous innovation, product quality, reliability are constantly guided by the extensive data collected from, well, millions of procedures performed across their vast installed base. It's a powerful feedback loop where real-world clinical use informs future product development, ensuring their innovations are truly impactful and aligned with that quintuple aim.
Now let's zoom out a bit and turn to the broader market dynamics that influenced Intuitive Surgical's Q2 performance. How did procedure growth break down across different regions and specialties? Was it pretty uniform, or were there notable variations?
Looking at the numbers, overall da Vinci procedure growth was robust, about 17% in the quarter. Breaking that down regionally reveals some interesting dynamics. U.S. procedure growth came in at 14%. This was primarily driven by continued strength in benign general surgery, with notable contributions from common procedures like cholecystectomy, that's gallbladder removal, and appendectomy. A significant factor here, apparently, was the company's proactive partnership with customers to support growth in after-hours procedures, basically helping hospitals maximize system utilization and address patient backlogs efficiently, which often translates into more procedures performed overall.
Right, getting more out of the machines they have. And what about outside the U.S.? Was the growth as strong there? What were the key drivers or challenges in those international markets?
Outside the U.S., procedure growth was actually even stronger, coming in at 23%. This robust performance was led by strong contributions from India, Korea, and various distributor markets. In Korea, the strong growth partly reflected a weaker comparison period from last year, which you might recall had been impacted by physician strikes.
Ah, right, that comparison effect.
Exactly. More broadly, though, across international markets, Intuitive observed significant growth in non-urology procedures. This is important because while urology procedures like prostatectomies have historically been a stronghold for Da Vinci, this quarter saw a strong expansion into colorectal, benign general surgery, thoracic, kidney, and HPB procedures. That's hepatopancreatobiliary, so liver, pancreas, bile duct surgeries.
Wow, quite a range.
Yeah. This diversification reflects their strategic efforts to expand adoption beyond their traditional urology base and really demonstrates the versatility of their platforms internationally.
Okay, moving from procedure volume to capital placements, actually getting new systems into hospitals. How did the global landscape impact that? We hear a lot about macroeconomic pressures influencing capital expenditure. Did that show up?
It definitely did. Global capital placements showed a mixed, somewhat challenging picture. While U.S. placements were remarkably strong, up 45% year-over-year at 216 systems, largely driven by that broad launch of the Da Vinci 5.
45% is huge.
Huge, but international placements faced ongoing headwinds. Overall, system placements were up 16% year-over-year at 395 systems. However, if you look just at the international component, OUS placements were 179 systems, which was actually down from 192 systems in the same quarter last year.
Down. Okay, so what were the specific pressures in those international markets that led to this decline in placements, even with strong procedure growth happening?
Yeah, the pressures were apparently most pronounced in key markets like Japan, China, and Europe. These regions continue to be significantly impacted by government budget challenges and, uncertainties over the trade environment, which understandably leads hospitals and healthcare systems to conserve capital spending, maybe delay big purchases.
Makes sense.
For example, Japan saw 26 fewer system placements year over year, and placements in Europe and China were essentially flat compared to last year. It really highlights that even for a company with strong clinical demand and clear patient benefits, these macroeconomic and policy factors can significantly influence capital equipment sales. Hospitals are often just deferring major purchases due to funding constraints or general economic uncertainty.
I recall hearing something about NHS England, the UK's health service, and their long-term plans for robotic surgery. Did that have any immediate positive impact on placements in the UK this quarter?
Right. NHS England did issue its 10-year plan to improve healthcare outcomes, and it notably included a commitment to expanding access to robotic surgery as one of its key elements. Now, while this is certainly encouraging from a long-term perspective and signals strategic alignment, Intuitive Surgical clarified that they do not expect any immediate positive impact from incremental NHS investments in robotics this year.
Ah, okay. Longer-term play.
Exactly. These large-scale government initiatives, they just take time to translate into concrete capital allocation and procurement. So while it's a positive policy signal, the operationalization will likely unfold over many years.
And turning back to the U.S. for a moment, what about the ongoing discussion around Medicaid recipients? There's been a lot of uncertainty about potential coverage loss post-pandemic and its ripple effect on health systems. How does Intuitive Surgical view that potential impact on their business?
Yeah, this is a complex area with broad implications for the entire U.S. healthcare system. You've got roughly 70 to 80 million Americans covered by Medicaid, and uncertainty remains about potential coverage loss and its ripple effects. Intuitive Surgical acknowledges this potential impact. However, they highlight a few key points that they feel position them somewhat uniquely. One, lower current penetration. Their current use of Da Vinci for procedures is relatively lower for patients covered by Medicaid compared to other types of commercial or Medicare coverage.
Okay, so less direct exposure.
Less direct exposure, potentially. Two, younger demographic. Medicaid patients generally tend to be a younger demographic than the overall patient population that undergoes robotic surgery. While robotic surgery is increasingly used across age groups, many common procedures using Da Vinci are still more prevalent in older populations. And three, maybe most crucially, demonstrating value. Intuitives believes that if they can continue to show clear clinical and economic advantages like lower length of hospital stay, fewer complications, reduced readmissions, overall resource savings for hospitals.
The total cost argument again.
Exactly. They believe they'll be in a position of relative strength, even in a challenging reimbursement environment. They apparently engaged with hospitals using sophisticated analytics to show how adopting Da Vinci can actually be part of the solution to hospitals' economic challenges by improving efficiency and outcomes. It's about trying to be a strategic partner, not just a vendor selling a box.
Let's delve into the financial results themselves now. Beyond that impressive 21% revenue growth you mentioned earlier, what were the specifics that paint the full picture of their Q2 financial health?
Okay, so total revenue for the quarter was $2.44 billion. That's a strong 21% increase year over year. And it was consistent on a constant currency basis, too. Systems revenue saw an even greater increase, up 28%. And this was driven by several factors. Low release rates were seen, which can incentivize capital purchases rather than leasing.
Right.
Increased placements overall, as we discussed. And, critically, a higher mix of the newest Da Vinci 5 systems, which carry a higher average selling price, or ASP. In fact, the ASP for systems rose to $1.5 million this quarter, up from $1.44 million last year. That's largely due to that increasing mix of Da Vinci 5, though it was partially offset by more trade-in transactions, where hospitals trade older systems for new ones.
And what about recurring revenue? That's often a key indicator of a healthy medical device business, reflecting ongoing usage and a stable installed base, right?
Absolutely. Recurring revenue, which accounts for a substantial 85% of their total revenue, that's a very healthy proportion for a med tech company.
Very high.
It also grew by a robust 21% year over year. This indicates strong, consistent utilization of their massive installed base of systems worldwide. People are using the robots they have. Interestingly, leasing represented 49% of Q2 placements. That was actually a bit lower than the 54% last year.
Why was that?
Well, this slight decrease was primarily driven by a higher mix of placements with distributors, apparently. Most distributors don't typically qualify to lease systems, they purchase them outright. However, Intuitive still forecasts that the long-term trend for leasing is expected to increase over time, particularly with more international customers who often prefer the flexibility and capital expenditure management that leasing provides. Instrument and accessory revenue per procedure remained relatively consistent at about $1,800. There were some dynamic pressures there. For instance, lower bariatric procedures and higher cholecystectomy procedures, which use fewer instruments, put some downward pressure. But this was offset by favorable customer ordering patterns, higher SP procedures, and specific Da Vinci 5 instrument and accessory usage. So it kind of balanced out the per-procedure revenue.
Shifting to profitability then, how did gross margin fare? And what were the contributing factors to any changes there?
The pro forma gross margin for the quarter was 67.9%. That was down from 70% in Q2 of last year. And just to clarify for everyone, pro forma financial figures are essentially adjusted numbers. They aim to give a clearer picture of the company's core operations, often by excluding things like one-time gains or losses, providing a more consistent benchmark for comparison year over year.
Got it. So why the dip from 70% to 67.9%?
Well, the decline in gross margin reflects several factors hitting at once.
Right.
One, higher facilities costs. This includes increased depreciation related to their significant investments in new manufacturing capacity that's just coming online.
Okay, the new factories.
Right. Two, the mix of newer products. A greater mix of lower margin Ion and Da Vinci 5 revenue. New products often have different, sometimes lower margin profiles initially as manufacturing scales up and efficiencies are gained over time. And three, higher service costs. Specifically related to the Da Vinci 5 system as it rolls out, there are initial service ramp-up costs associated with supporting a new platform globally.
Right, right. Now, tariffs, they've been a recurring theme, a headwind for many global companies. How did they impact Intuitive Surgical in Q2? And what's the outlook for the full year, especially with the sort of dynamic U.S.-China trade environment?
Yeah, tariffs had an impact of approximately 60 basis points on their Q2 results. Noticeable. The trade environment continues to be dynamic, but they've actually updated their estimated full-year impact of tariffs. They now expect it to be approximately 100 basis points plus or minus 20 basis points.
Okay, 1% impact for the year.
Roughly. And this is actually a bit lower than their previous estimate. That primarily reflects a recent reduction in bilateral tariff rates relating to U.S.-China trade, which is obviously a positive development for them. Their estimate assumes some specific tariff rates. Imports from China to the U.S. bearing a 30% tariff, imports into China from the U.S. subject to a 10% tariff, imports into the U.S. from other countries bearing 10%, and imports from Mexico, Canada that comply with USMCA remaining exempt.
Complex calculation.
Very. And they cautioned that the impact of tariffs is expected to increase each quarter this year as that tariff expense rolls through inventory into cost of sales. They also reiterate that future changes in tariff rates could still have a significant incremental impact, given the ongoing uncertainty in global trade policy. It's something they have to constantly monitor.
To support all this consistent growth and manage costs effectively, they must be investing heavily in manufacturing capacity and optimizing their supply chain, right? Can you give us an update on those efforts?
Absolutely. See the investment clearly. During the quarter, they opened a significant new 187,000 square foot manufacturing facility in Bulgaria, strategically located in Europe, with ample land to expand further as needed.
Bulgaria, interesting.
Yeah. This site will initially focus on their portfolio of more mature endoscope products, which frees up capacity in their existing facilities for newer, more complex products like the da Vinci 5 components. Looking ahead, they also plan to further increase their manufacturing footprint in Germany and Mexico. These expansions are critical to meet their midterm needs for additional capacity, support projected revenue growth, and align with their strategy to operate at industrial scale. It ensures global supply continuity and resilience in their supply chain. It's a massive capital investment in their future manufacturing capabilities.
And just quickly, how do their operating expenses and overall cash position reflect their current financial health and future investment capacity? Strong.
Pretty strong, yes. Pro forma operating expenses increased 9% year over year. This was driven primarily by higher headcount. They added about 300 employees in the quarter, roughly half in manufacturing roles to support demand and scale production, and increased facility costs, including depreciation from those new sites. These increases were partially offset by lower legal expenses compared to last year. Pro forma other income was $93 million, which reflects higher interest income from their substantial cash balance. Their pro forma effective tax rate for Q2 was 22.7%, right in line with expectations. They're evaluating recent U.S. tax reform, but don't anticipate a material impact to their 2025 tax rate currently. And finally, they ended the quarter with a very strong cash and investments position of $9.5 billion. That's up from $9.1 billion last quarter.
Oh, $9.5 billion.
Yeah. This robust cash position provides significant financial flexibility for ongoing R&D, strategic investments, and navigating any future market uncertainties. It really underpins their ability to execute on their long-term vision.
Now, let's talk about something that's always a discussion point for established medical device companies, the emergence of third-party remanufactured instruments. This can present hospitals with alternative, potentially lower-cost options for things like instrument reuse. So what does this all mean for Intuitive Surgical, and how are customers, especially these, multidisciplinary hospital value committees, evaluating these options?
Yeah, this is indeed a critical area, and Intuitive Surgical has a very clear and consistent stance on this. They believe that customers, particularly those hospital value committees, will carefully weigh various factors when considering third-party remanufactured instruments against Intuitive's own high-quality new offerings. And these value committees, as you said, are typically multidisciplinary. They involve a broad range of stakeholders, or leadership, medical personnel, risk management, supply chain experts, and crucially, the actual care teams, like surgeons and nurses. They apparently have established processes to meticulously assess a wide array of variables. Patient safety, first and foremost.
Number one.
Number one, consistent performance. Does the instrument perform reliably every single time? Quality and reliability. What's the risk of malfunction during a critical procedure? Continuity of supply. Can they count on a steady, predictable supply, especially for high-volume procedures? And ongoing support. What kind of technical and clinical support is available? All of these factors are weighed very carefully against any expected upfront savings from third-party options.
So their core belief then is that their own offerings provide a superior sort of holistic value proposition despite potentially higher upfront costs for the instruments themselves.
Exactly. Intuitive Surgical holds a strong conviction that their high-quality, new instruments, their consistent performance, the broad operational support they provide, and their predictable supply chains ultimately provide the greatest value to their customers over the long term. They argue it reduces hidden costs associated with potential complications, workflow disruptions, or maybe less optimal patient outcomes that could arise from using remanufactured instruments. They also emphasize that continuous innovation is a key part of their strategy to protect their business and differentiate their offerings. This includes expanding their portfolio with new tools, extending existing instrument uses like that 50-use scope, and integrating advanced features like force feedback in the da Vinci 5. They say they're continuously striving to lower cost and provide the best value, but crucially, without compromising on safety, performance, or the patient and care team experience. It's really a total cost of ownership argument they're making.
All right. This all leads us nicely to their updated financial guidance for 2025, which provides a forward-looking perspective on their expectations. What are the key takeaways there, particularly for da Vinci procedure growth and that gross profit margin?
Okay, so for 2025, they've updated their da Vinci procedure growth guidance. They now expect it to be within a range of 15.5% and 17%. And it's important to understand the assumptions built into both the low and high ends of this range. The low end, 15.5%, assumes continued impacts from the trade environment and competitive dynamics in China. It also factors in ongoing government budget constraints on hospital capex in key international markets, limiting capacity expansion. And it assumes bariatric procedures, which have been declining, continue to do so at recent rates.
Okay, the cautious view.
The cautious view. The high end, 17%, is obviously more optimistic. It assumes an improvement in China's procedure growth relative to 2024. It assumes a more favorable capital expenditure environment internationally, and a moderation in the decline of bariatric procedures. It also assumes da Vinci procedures are not negatively impacted by the current trade environment.
Got it. And the gross margin.
On the pro forma gross profit margin, their updated guidance for 2025 is now between 66% and 67% of revenue. This range already incorporates those significant factors we talked about: the incremental depreciation from new facilities, the contribution from growth of newer products like da Vinci 5 and Ion, and the expected impact of tariffs, which they estimate will increase their 2025 cost of sales by roughly 1% of revenue.
And what about other key financial estimates they provided? Things like operating expenses, stock compensation, capital expenditures, any changes there?
They continue to expect pro forma operating expense growth to be between 10% and 14%. This accounts for increased depreciation from new facilities and ongoing strategic investments to drive future growth R&D, sales force expansion, etc. Non-cash stock compensation expense, which is a significant component for tech companies, is still anticipated to range between $770 million and $790 million. Other income, mostly interest earned on that huge cash reserve, is now forecast to total between $370 million and $390 million. Capital expenditures, reflecting their continued investment in global infrastructure, are estimated in a range of $650 million to $725 million. That's largely for planned facility construction and manufacturing scale-up. And finally, their 2025 pro forma income tax rate is still expected to be stable, between 22% and 23% of pre-tax income. So overall, the guidance reflects a balance of continued growth, significant strategic investment, and pretty diligent cost management within what's still a dynamic global environment.
It's really clear that the da Vinci 5 platform, much like its predecessors, is a platform technology. It's going to continue to evolve significantly over time, isn't it? What can we maybe expect in terms of future features and capabilities that will build on its current foundation?
You're absolutely right. These robotic surgical systems are inherently platform technologies. Just think of the Da Vinci Xi. It evolved dramatically over the past decade through software updates, new instruments, extending its capabilities far beyond its initial launch. Intuitive Surgical seems to have a clear roadmap for the Da Vinci 5. They've explicitly mentioned the ability to integrate 3D models in entirely new ways, leveraging the system's significantly increased compute power.
Ah, more processing power.
Exactly. This allows for things like graphically enhanced imaging, maybe more sophisticated surgical planning tools, deeper integration capabilities that simply weren't possible with previous generations. The aim, as always, is to relentlessly pursue that quintuple aim: improve patient outcomes, enhance the care team's experience by making complex tasks more intuitive, and ultimately contribute to lower cost of care by increasing efficiency and reducing complications. They also indicated that while most future features probably won't be directly charged for, they're seen as enhancements to the existing system value.
Right, upgrades.
They will dramatically enhance the system's overall value proposition, making it even more compelling for hospitals considering the significant investment. They did leave the door open, saying there might be some specific digital capabilities they consider charging for, but only if they can demonstrate clear, undeniable, incremental value to the customer, making it a must-have rather than just a nice-to-have.
So to sort of synthesize this fascinating discussion, it seems like Intuitive Surgical is really committing to a few core strategic priorities for 2025 that will shape their path forward. Can you maybe recap those?
Precisely. Their commitment for 2025 really seems focused on four deeply interconnected key areas, all driving towards that quintuple aim. One, the full global Da Vinci 5 launch. This involves not just getting those initial regional clearances, but ensuring the complete ecosystem, instruments, software, support is available globally, along with subsequent feature releases that unlock its full potential over time. Two, increased adoption of focused procedures. They're aggressively working to drive adoption for specific procedures across different countries through robust training, targeted commercial activities, proactive market access efforts, really expanding the breadth and depth of da Vinci's use. 3. Building industrial scale and manufacturing optimization. They're making continued progress in building out that global manufacturing footprint, optimizing product quality, streamlining their supply chain to ensure they can meet surging global demand efficiently and reliably. That's foundational. And 4, excellence in digital tools. Maintaining leadership and ensuring the wide availability and integration of their digital tools, from telepresence for collaboration to case insights for data analysis, is paramount for continuous improvement and demonstrating value. Their core businesses clearly have strong momentum, and their teams seem laser-focused on the significant long-term opportunity to improve that quintuple aim through their connected ecosystem. They appear operationally and financially well-positioned to execute these priorities, continuing to push the boundaries of robotic-assisted surgery.
What an incredible exploration into Intuitive Surgical's Q2 performance and their, well, really ambitious future vision. We've seen a seamless leadership transition, groundbreaking innovations with the da Vinci 5 and its force feedback, the expanding reach of their SP and Ion systems, all underpinned by this deep commitment to the quintuple aim. They're clearly not just selling robots, they're aiming to redefine patient outcomes, care team experience, cost, and access to care globally. So here's a final thought for you to ponder. Given the rapid advancements we've discussed and the increasing demand for less invasive, more precise procedures, how might robotic surgery reshape the standard of care in areas we haven't even fully imagined yet? Could it move beyond the OR into new diagnostic or even therapeutic frontiers in the future? Thank you so much for tuning in to the Quarterly Call. For more episodes, please remember to rate and follow our show. Until next time, stay curious and stay informed.